So yesterday was Remembrance Day. I think it's Veterans Day in the States, but it's Remembrance Day here. In Canada, and I think in the rest of the Commonwealth as well, people wear red poppies during Remembrance Day. The holiday started off initially as a World War I commemoration day, because November 11th was the day that World War I ended. And the poppy became the holiday symbol throughout the British Empire due to a poem written by a Canadian doctor in Belgium during the war. As expected, Twitter was filled for the day with various Remembrance Day messages and hashtags from public figures and brand accounts. You know, the stuff that IRL is usually pretty meaningful, but when pushed around on social media just seems a bit vapid. Especially you, Trudeau. Get out of here. We already know exactly what you have to say about veterans.
You made the promise, and I'll quote it here, "No veteran will be forced to fight their own government for the support and compensation they have earned." Yet you are still currently in a legal battle with veterans regarding equal support and compensation to their peers.
Why are we still fighting against certain veterans groups in court? Because they are asking for more than we are able to give right now. They are asking for more than we... Well, no, hang on. You're asking for honest answers. The old Veterans Charter...
There was a non-controversy about an LGBT-themed rainbow-colored poppy this year. The initial story was that a student in Manitoba was suspended for opposing the introduction of the rainbow poppy at her school. The school refused to publicly comment on why she was suspended, but did make the claim that they had no plans to introduce a rainbow poppy. The student's side of the story was that her choir teacher wanted their choir to wear them, and she refused. She later began posting flyers around the school, the flyer is pictured here, which the school administration considered to contain hate speech. And that is what actually earned her the suspension, not refusing the poppy. The story was amplified by the student's aunt, who was a Conservative candidate in the recent Canadian election. After this whole story went viral, the initial tweets were taken down and an apology by the aunt was posted. Canada's media took this as a sign that the whole thing was just fake news, drummed up by the student for attention and by Rebel Media, the only news outlet that was actually willing to interview the student herself. But, you know, I actually read that apology statement, and nothing in here says that the student made it up. Or even that she recants the message of her original flyer. Just that her words were misconstrued as anti-LGBT when they were only meant to be pro-traditional poppy. So maybe the kid lied. Or maybe she had a different reason to put up those flyers. Maybe it actually happened as she said, but the story got buried under the weight of cancel culture. Either way, it's not the first time that people have tried to make rainbow poppies a thing. You know, not everything needs to be about LGBT people. There are other groups out there worthy of recognition. There are other causes to fight for. But because this is Twitter we're talking about here, there's always that vocal minority of brainlets who have to do that predictably subversive thing and talk about how bad the soldiers are and how evil the West is. Probably the best galaxy brain takes of the bunch are the ones where nations like Canada and Australia are blamed as global imperialist colonialist powers. Well, alright, my down-under comrades, let the forcible exporting of maple syrup and kangaroos commence. The American variant of the holiday is Veterans Day, because America's gotta be special like that. And they've got even more of those loud idiots who think it's super cool to talk about how much veterans suck on their own holiday. This is the equivalent of me saying get back in the kitchen on International Women's Day or something. Probably the best take I've found so far is this one. A coup in Bolivia for Veterans Day? I guess that's on brand for the US. Happy Imperialism Day. Okay, so very quickly. Bolivia recently had a referendum because its authoritarian leftist president, Evo Morales of the Movement for Socialism Party, wanted to extend presidential term limits. He'd already been president for 2 terms and his time was up. When he lost the referendum on the subject, Bolivia's Supreme Court decided to extend term limits anyway. Morales subsequently ran again for president and won. Independent review revealed that the vote was essentially rigged, and the entire country began to riot. The military and police both withdrew their support from Morales, and he was forced to step down. As of just a few hours ago, Morales has received asylum in Mexico, while the remnants of Bolivia's Senate is calling another election. And every single Twitter socialist is calling this event a coup. No, it only seems like a coup to you guys because you still don't believe that your failed ideology is what destroyed Venezuela. But we're way off topic. Let's discuss the crown jewel of this year's Poppy Day, DonCherry. DonCherry is, frankly, a Canadian legend. A former pro hockey player and coach, DonCherry's hosted the Canadian show Coach's Corner for 40 years. He's a Canadian staple. Though he's not a politician, he's cut from the same cloth as a Trump or a Boris Johnson, though with a very Canadian twist. He's brash, unapologetic, loudmouthed, unashamedly pro-Canadian, and he has absolutely no problem letting people know it and looking like a goofball in the process. Also, I'm pretty sure he's the only Canadian to ever appear in a JonTron, because Don Cherry played the hockey coach in that one Goosebumps episode.
We got hockey coach man over here.
No, John, it's Don fucking Cherry. John, it's not some nobody. Fuck.
Come on, what's going on? Let's get some heads-up hockey. That guy out there, I'll tell you something. $10 million and all of a sudden game. I see you guys out there. You'll be sent down to the minors.
I don't even like hockey, but I love the meme potential of this man. He's a walking circus, and it's amazing. He openly called European players pussies live on air during his coverage of the World Cup. After Russian skiers tested positive for drugs in the Salt Lake City Olympics, he said, "I've been trying to tell you people for so long about the Russians, what kind of people they are, and you just love them in Canada with your multiculturalism. They're quitters, and evidently they take a lot of drugs too." He also said that European and French hockey players regularly wear visors, and therefore don't care about the safety of their fellow players, because visor wearers tend to cause more injuries. Something backed up at least partially by hockey stats. He referred to Alpo Suonen, a Winnipeg Jets coach from Finland, as some kind of a dog food, because Alpo is also a dog food brand here. He attended the 2010 inaugural meeting of the Toronto City Council, where he stated, "I'm wearing pink for all the pinkos out there that ride bicycles and everything. I thought I'd get it in." He then went on to state that he had been ripped to shreds by the left-wing pinko newspapers out there, and ended by saying, "And that's why I say Rob Ford is going to be the greatest mayor this city has ever seen, as far as I'm concerned. And put that in your pipe, you left-wing kooks." He referred to the wars in the Balkans of the 1990s as Lower Slobovia attacking Slimea. What I'm trying to say is, Don Cherry has been a provocateur for his entire very long career. Coach's Corner has always been like this, for all 40 of its hilarious years. And Canadians love him for it, because it's great to watch him go off the rails. It's like watching a guy wearing an outlandish suit, riding a flaming dumpster fire on wheels, careening down a hill. It's just awesome. So, on Remembrance Day 2019, Don Cherry had this to say.
You know, I was talking to a veteran. I said, I'm not going to run the poppy thing anymore, because what's the sense? I live in Mississauga. Nobody wears, very few people wear a poppy. Downtown Toronto, forget it, downtown Toronto. Nobody wears a poppy. And I'm not going to. He says, wait a minute. How about running it for the people that buy them? Now, you go to the small cities, and you know those, the rows on rows, you people love, they come here, whatever it is, you love our way of life, you love our milk and honey. At least you could pay a couple of bucks for poppies or something like that. These guys pay for your way of life that you enjoy in Canada. These guys paid the biggest price. Anyhow, I'm going to run it again for you great people and good Canadians that bought a poppy. I'm still going to run it anyhow.
Love you for it.
Well, that's pretty spicy. Not the most outlandish thing he's ever said, but, pretty good. 7 out of 10. But because it's 2019, he's been fired. People are calling him a bigot and a racist, and all the usual nonsense we're used to hearing. And to be honest, he probably actually is those things to some small degree. But more than that, he's a clown. He's a clown that everyone loves. He's the guy people have always let say racist, dumb shit because it's racist and dumb, and he appears as racist and dumb, and people laugh at him for it. But oh no, we can't laugh anymore. Comedy is no longer allowed. So after 40 years of slinging mad, flaming shit on mainstream TV, Don Cherry was finally cancelled. I mean, he never even mentioned a race in that specific rant, or a religion, or an ethnicity. He just complained, basically, that new immigrants to Canada generally refuse to wear poppies. He didn't mention their skin color or anything else, but no, he's just a bigot, I guess. By the way, I hope y'all didn't expect him to crumple under the weight of cancel culture or something. I hope you didn't expect an apology, because you're not fucking getting one.
How appropriate, though, that I get fired on Remembrance Day. Let me put it this way. If you can get fired by the Boston Bruins, you can get fired by anybody.
Oh, and by the way, while I was writing this script, the hashtag IStandWithDonCherry started to trend in Canada on Twitter. And on Facebook, all of those old normie high school people I still have on my friends list, but I never talk to because Facebook is cancer, are all out in support of Don Cherry. These are people with wildly different political views. A lot of them are quite left. But no, almost everyone understands that the Don represents a raw, hyper, big-dicked Canadian energy, and everyone wants him back on TV. In fact, people want him back on TV so badly that it's starting to cause some problems with the network that canceled him in the first place. Well, let's be honest with each other here, Lefty Canada. Let's have a heart-to-heart. You don't get to call Don Cherry racist for using the phrase, "you people," when you elected blackface Trudeau as our prime minister again. You are no longer the arbiter of what is or is not racist. You clearly can't judge it, so shut up. Stop acting so offended over it. We already know that it is an act. We already know that what really offends you is patriotism itself, because you're most likely open borders agitators who hate the nation state, and the commemoration of a country's soldiers is the celebration of who you erroneously view as murderers who fought against your unrealistic and disastrous delusions of utopia. Fuck you.
We're in Trelinkin British Cemetery in France on November 11th. I want everybody to remember, when you're buying a poppy and you see row after row of our Canadian dead here, and I'm going to put here, we visited Thomas William Mackenzie, Military Medal and Bar, Canadian Field Artillery. He died 7 days before the end of the war, 27 years old. So when you're walking by and you see our great legions guys standing there and they offer you a poppy, think of all this. These guys gave their lives. At least you can buy a poppy.